Oh, employee to entrepreneur. You tuned in for employee to entrepreneur, and you're looking for Chris Jones to talk and say things and tell a story. And I'm going to tell a story, but who are these other two guys? See, I was in this. I'm going to treat this like a network meeting. You want to just do North Country Connect on StreamYard Live?
Let's do it.
Round two.
Round two.
Round two.
Yeah, I was in a network meeting this morning with these two and a lot of fine other people. And I made mention of the fact that I had to postpone my guest today because she had some deadlines to attend to and couldn't make it today. And Caleb Nelson and Tim Sokol both said, "Hey, why don't we just go on your show and we'll make a thing out of it?" I said, "Okay." So the actual theory is employee to entrepreneur, but we'll get on that in a second. First, I want to introduce who am I going to go with first? 1, 2, 3. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. Caleb Nelson, introduce yourself and who are you and why are you here and what do you do?
Why am I here? That's might be the biggest existential question that's going, brother. So why are any of us here, man?
Why, baby?
Why? Well, I'm here because I like the two of you guys and I'm excited to just chat. I already prepped you before, like if at any point you need to shut me up because I talk a lot. Don't hesitate to step in. But who am I? Well, I go by the name, my given name, Caleb Nelson. There we go. Right. So there's that. And I own a company called Naked Sunday.
That's what I do. That's what people want to know about. What is Naked Sunday? Because this is like Tuesday. So what are we doing?
Yeah, well, it gives them something to look forward to on a Sunday, getting naked. But my tagline is free yourself. So Naked Sunday, free yourself. We've got a podcast where I like to talk about all things personal development, professional development. I think they're all the same thing at the end of the day, but
they are kind of.
Professionally, what do I do? Coach. So I specialize in working with high performance couples. They tend to be entrepreneurs, go figure. Mm-hmm. And I like to ask the question, how does your relationships affect your business? And within that, we explore everything in terms of how you are functioning as an individual, as a human being, how you're communicating within your relationship. And ultimately, you got to talk about what does it produce? Well, hopefully better relationships and more prosperity in your business. So functionally what people understand, I guess, is business and life coach, but whatever you want it to be after that, it's up to you. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we get naked on Sundays. Why not? How about it?
Hey, wait a minute. Let me just take.
No, Chris, just him.
Hi.
Tim, your turn. Why are you here? And what do you do?
I'm here because of you, of course, and because I know you and you're awesome. I've known Chris for a bit, and now I got to know him even better over these last couple of years, and it's been a pleasure. So that's why I'm here as far as the invite goes. As far as what I do and who I am, my name is Tim Sokol. I have a business called A Venue, and I love connecting people in the most funnest way possible, whether it's through games or through networking opportunities, through collaborating, team building, fundraising, anything like that. But I like to use my fun modalities, my tools of the trade, if you will, poker, games, game shows, fun and excitement. That's what I'm all about. So thank you very much for having us both today, Chris.
This will be a fun thing. Now, I'll stick with Tim for a second, and then I'll get to Caleb. Tim, you were an employee at one time. We're going to stick with this loose theme of employee to entrepreneur. You were an employee at one time, and now you're an entrepreneur with A Venue. So explain, I guess, and I'm going to get into my story in a bit, but your transition from one to the other and how you felt during that.
Sure. I would even argue to say I went from entrepreneur to employee to entrepreneur.
Uh-oh.
So had a family business and ran that out. So the entrepreneur side of me, or the part of our family business of being entrepreneur, was great. Loved that dynamic. However, those dynamics changed in a good way. And I decided to branch out and try to do something different. So Chris knows me from the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce that I was a part of in Glens Falls, an amazing chamber and amazing people. And it was very hard for me to let go of that business or to be a part of being that employee. Mm-hmm. But I saw different things for myself. I began to mature as a person, if you will. I I think I was kind of elevating as a person in that same time. And I began to realize what I liked and what I didn't like. And that's what a lot of people that become an entrepreneur, that's what they take. They take what they like out of something and they bring it forward, or they take their passion and now they bring it forward. And that's what I like to think that I did. I took something that I really wanted to do, but again, I wasn't the boss. Had a great boss, but I wanted to be the boss. And there's only one boss, so I had to leave for that reason. And for many other reasons. I realized that there was a calling for me. And I had done a game show with some friends, and it was the year before I had left the chamber. And I did decide to do a newlywed game. And after doing that, and after hosting it, and after dressing up, as Tim likes to do, I realized that there was more in it for me. So I said, you know what? Let's start a business that's all about fun and games. Wholly risky, wholly fun, but let's do it. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm loving every minute.
And it's doing well, right? You're doing pretty well.
It is doing well. And now that we're becoming more live, and as people have, felt a different comfort level, and I know there's still some that haven't, but for those that have, I've done a lot more live services, and that's been the difference. Obviously, during COVID, it was a little bit more challenging. Virtual can be challenging just because it's not the same engagement as we have, when we're in person, for sure.
That's true. What an amazing story. Entrepreneur, employee, entrepreneur. You're not going back to employee. I can see that.
I cannot see that happening in my future, Chris. I cannot see that. Yeah.
Because you're going to be the boss.
I'm going to be the boss. Yeah.
See, this guy, he's right on the screen. He's the boss. Well, who's this guy over here? Caleb. At one time you were an employee too, I'm sure, somewhere. And how did you make that transition to your current business that you do now?
So I started my career at a gym. I was working in a CrossFit gym, and I always knew that I was driven to entrepreneurship. I always knew I wanted to own my own business. Right. Anybody who knows me probably knows that I don't like being told what to do in any way, shape, or form. That's probably putting it very lightly. And especially, I can be very headstrong. Tim knows this. We basically got done with a 2-hour conversation hearing about it all. But especially, I get thoughts of grandeur in my head, and I want to create something really powerful. Anyway, we had this really amazing gym. I was anybody knows anything about the CrossFit world, I was there before it became a thing, before it like boomed onto the scene. And I saw the potential there. I was really passionate about it. I knew I wanted to get involved with it more. And we created a really amazing space up in Albany. And we had this opportunity to expand into a second location, a sister gym. And to me, it was like, well, duh, we did it once, we're doing it again. And I had an opportunity to invest there, and it started that. That business relationship hit a breaking point, and we went our separate ways for a while, and we've reconnected. But it was a really beautiful experience. As I look back at it, where I went off with another business partner. Now I'm on my own now that I've walked away from the fitness or from owning a gym. That transition, it's absolutely terrifying, because when you're an employee, there's the security of there's a paycheck. I'm told basically what I need to do, when I need to do it by. There's the reliability, there's the certainty. And I've heard this quote a lot. I can't remember who it comes from, but there's most people would prefer the discomfort of certainty, the pain of certainty, versus the uncertainty of pain, which is the flip side, like entrepreneurship.
I love how you put that. I love that.
It's not my quote, so I can't take credit for it.
No, but it's just because it's so true. The pain of certainty. It's like these people that work in factories and make $38 an hour or $80 an hour, but they absolutely hate their life, hate their job. Everything sucks, but man, do they have money. So I guess they're good, huh?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same idea there. So good for you, man. That's great. I love it. I used to sell cars. I sold cars for a while. I was over here at a Chevy dealer in Glens Falls, and for 6 years I did that. Before that, it was other things in retail, but a lot of it was retail. Going back, I started out in radio broadcasting, which is where the voice thing comes from. Radio broadcasting, which was fun, but doesn't pay the bills. Just don't ever do it. unless you're a guest and you don't have to worry about it. And I did that for a while and decided I wanted to actually see people instead of just talking over a microphone to them. So I decided to get into face-to-face sales. Did that for a number of years. The last time I did that was in the car business, and that was pretty good. I did pretty decently for a while. Towards the end, though, my passion was gone. I had no passion for the thing at all. I'm like, I wake up in the morning and do I have to go do this again today?
Yeah.
Why? But I didn't make the break yet. Basically, what happened was a friendly departure. So on my way down to this office on the last day of February 2019, in the car business, everything is month to month to month to month. You could sell 80 cars one month, but the next month it's like, okay, you still suck. Go sell 80 more. And Christine Smith would agree with me on that.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I ended up getting called to because my passion was gone. I sold, I think, one car that month. That one, it's like, my God. And I can make all the excuses in the world saying, well, the market, the this, the that. But
you weren't wearing the bow that day or something, right?
Yeah, the bow. Yeah, I forgot the bow. That was what it was.
That's what I was thinking.
You didn't wear the bow, you're fired. No. So I'm pulled into, I'm walking down to the office knowing this was happening. Meanwhile, I grabbed my keys, the same set actually, and I pulled the office key off of the key ring. And as I walked into that office, I handed it to them. And they said, we have to let you go. And I said, fine, I have to go myself. Something like that. It wasn't like a get the hell off the property thing. It was, I took like an hour and a half or more to gather my stuff up and say goodbye to everybody and leave. It wasn't like, because I've seen people get escorted off properties, especially that place. And the car business turns people over left and right. So anyway, the next day, March 1st, 2019, at the age of 60, I woke up and I had some knowledge of website construction. I turned chrisjonesmedia.com from whatever it was, which wasn't much at the time, into a media company. And I went off and started making videos and doing voice work and never looked back after that.
Chris, can I ask you something? Did you have any kind of support around that at that time that led you to that? Those ideas? Did you do it by yourself? In other words, did it come from yourself?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
It kind of did. No, not kind of. It did, because I wanted to do something with media. Cars. I'm not a car guy. I'm not waiting for the next great Corvette or Camaro to come out. Right. Or I'm not looking to buy the next an antique Ford Mustang and restore it or something. I'm not looking to do that. I'm just not a car guy like that. I can sell things, and I enjoy the culture, and I respect the culture, and I drive a Chevy. But right now, I don't have that passion. So passion was in media and voice, and I had started to do a lot of video editing prior to that, and let's just make a thing out of it. So I did it with the support of my wife and family and everybody else. So
good for you.
That's how that works. So
I love it.
That's my story, and that's what happened. And I still maintain contact with, some contact with the people there. Although now I'm at another car dealership doing their social media. So, what the heck. But there it is. So
it's interesting that, you had mentioned something about, or maybe you mentioned it or not, maybe I'm just thinking of it right now, but the one thing that I always wanted to avoid, and the one thing that I realized with each business that I did that wasn't my own, and there was some that I kind of had for a little bit of time. I don't want to be that guy that was jumping from business to business. But I felt like I had a little bit of a romance period. And then there was a period that I just kind of felt like there's something missing now. And maybe it was always that fire and that passion that I had, that I wanted to do something myself.
Right.
But I remembered a couple of things. I remembered the day that I'm going to go to work and I'm going to start counting the steps, or I'm going to start seeing those things and dreading it. So for instance, there was a certain amount of steps to get to work, or going up flight of stairs or something. I'm looking at each one of those steps as, oh my God, every single step is, I hate this job. And that's kind of what it felt like. And more to the point was, there was I'm not going to talk bad necessarily, but it's just a company culture. I worked for Rivers for a very small point in time in my life as a table games dealer. A great opportunity to showcase and have my own stage, if you will, and deal some cards. That was great. But in order to get from the parking lot to the actual punch-in area, if you will, was about 1 billion steps, and you had a long, long hallway to think about your walk into work. Now, if you don't like that job, let me tell you, that is the longest walk you ever have to take and to think about why you don't like your job. And I thought about that walk being the most exciting walk that I had when I first had that job. And then toward the end, it was the most miserable walk I had. And thinking about that, I don't know if people pay attention to that or not. I had the luxury, thankfully, and the support to change myself and to go for happiness. Not everyone has that. And
True.
So I'm very lucky in that respect. Not everyone can say that. And yeah, I did take a considerable risk doing it as well, but it was a step. You have to leap.
I wasn't actively planning to leave the car business, but I could see the wind blowing in that direction, and it just kind of happened. And I learned a lot about people and sales procedures and what to say and how to say it over the course of my entire sales career, plus the radio, all of that, 40 plus years of experience. And the car business was probably the highest level of sales that I had done, with the most expensive things, I guess, not luxury, but automobiles. And because that's the second most important thing you'll buy in your lifetime is a vehicle, aside from a house, maybe, or a place to live, generally for most people. So learning how to talk to people and basically you have to, it's all people business. In fact, every business is a people business, right? And that's how it goes. You have to learn how to talk to people. And the car business certainly taught me a lot more of that along the way, but it was time. And things do happen for a reason, I think. So there we go.
Something you brought out there, Tim, that I thought was worth diving into, or I think a lot of people, they're going to have their own walk to the doorstep idea. What really speaks to is like, what's the one thing you consistently do that you always have to do? What's the one habit you always have to do in the space that you're in? And it serves as a checkpoint. And as you said, that like the first thing that came to mind to me, and I would tell it to people that like were kind of the inner circle on the staff at the gym at the end, is I would scrub floors. There was this floor scrubber, and I openly said, like, the day I'm not willing to push this thing around is the day I close the gym. And I remember, the pandemic became a very convenient means to move on to the next phase of my life. I was ready to move on, but the reality was, like, I wasn't willing to go back to pushing that scrubber. It was very meditative. It took about 45 minutes to just go through the whole space and just go, oh, but everybody's going to have their own unique thing. Mine was that, like, you got to still scrub the floors so people can show up. You have to, like, go through your process. And I thought that was really powerful to hear that story. The one thing I would pull back on, and also, like, it pulls in a little bit of what Chris is talking about with going between a couple different experiences. You take these different pieces from other places in your life. Like you said, you went from job to job, tried out a couple things, didn't really, but like you learned the lesson you needed to learn at that spot, whether it was sales or how to like interact or how to like do social media or like how to build a campaign or whatever it is. But entrepreneurship is taking all those great skills. It's the French word entre means within. Plan means works, like within works. So you're taking all the works and you're compiling them into one. I think the scary part for a lot of people is to say, like, I learned all these tactical skills out in the world and all these other spaces. Is the one thing where I want to put all my favorite parts together all in the middle, is it as valuable as I thought it was? I think that tends to be the biggest leap there. But you brought up an interesting question, Tim, of what kind of support did you have? Because I would go so far as to say everybody has to feel safe enough compared to the threat that they're exposed to, whether it's like my job, my boss is a real jerk and like I can't deal with that, or I don't feel safe at work, or my life is on the line, whatever that is, compared to the cost benefit, right? Maybe you're getting paid $1 million to put your life on the line. Like, that's a different ball of wax for a lot of people. I think of professional sports, football player, they could die every time they get out on the field. Like, that might happen, but they're paid $1 million. Maybe the risk reward at a certain point. Do you feel safe enough to take that leap towards the other thing that's pulling you or drawing you towards the next thing in life? And it sounds like for you, it's like, well, we get bored. And is that boredom, I'm just being a cranky kid, like a cranky teenager? Or is it or is it like, is it an existential boredom? Like, I'm not living up to my purpose. And it sounds like both of you are like, selling cars ain't doing it for me, or, all these other jobs, like, they're fine and good, or, it's fun. I can be in a performance, but it's not filling my soul. And I think that was just like, those are the three kind of like themes that pulled out for me, as you both described when, where, and how you make a decision to make the leap from I collect a paycheck to I create my own reality.
Right.
That's
Wow.
exactly it. That's exactly it. It's a process. I mean, I didn't stay in any one job. Let me see. I'm just thinking back now. 2 years, 3, maybe, and it would change back in the day, going back from like the 90s, 80s, 90s, all the way up through now. The longest thing I did was in the car business. That was 6 years to the day. Actually, it was funny. 6 years to the day, and that was it. And next day, I woke up and said, "How the hell? What am I going to do?" Only for about 2 seconds. Then I got on the website and started fixing that, and then I went out and started marketing myself, walking around Glens Falls here and some other places, and knocking on a few doors, making some contacts with people I had known from previous encounters, I suppose. And that's how it worked out. So, and then we are here today. So
Thank
yeah,
God. Thank God.
yeah, really, I know.
Chris, there's a different level of stress too that we deal with, I think, as an entrepreneur. I feel like I used to stress in a different way, and maybe there is some comfort in having that business. It's a 9-to-5 job or whatever, and you go there, you leave, you don't have to walk away. You can go home and do whatever you have to do, make your dinner, play with the kids, and not have to think about the business sometimes, or maybe, depending on the business style, but I'm just speaking in generalities.
Sure.
That's what it was almost like. I didn't have to worry about the business when I went home.
Yeah.
But now I do, but it's mine. So I don't worry that same way. It's a different worry. I don't ever worry about making it into work on time, because I am my job. I am my own thing, and I'm doing it myself. So becomes a lot more. There's risks and rewards, and it depends on what you want to do. And I can see someone making a lot of money, maybe being a little bit more miserable in their job, but taking that balancing act. Say, well, I'm not that extremely happy, but I'm making enough money to make it worth the while, and make it up every morning. So I understand that as well. And for the longest time, I thought that was what it was. I thought it was always a balance of that, and I guess it is. I just decided that balance wasn't right for me, and I wanted to go the opposite way. So
yeah, which is why I didn't end up taking any other employee type positions after the car business.
Yeah,
I entertained it because in the beginning of a new business, I hadn't been doing much with video and audio prior to leaving the car business, because the car business, and again, I'll cite Christine Smith, she knows about it, is very demanding. You're always thinking about the next sale. You're always thinking about, who can I call? Who can I do? Get on the phones, do this, do that, do this, do that. I'm like, and it infects your brain, and it's not even your business. And that's the part that bothered me, I think. And now it's all, yeah, you're right. It's a lot different stress at this point. So,
yeah.
The question becomes, once you accept that there's going to be stress, it's what stress do you want? And that's not easy for people to accept. And entrepreneurism, I heard somebody say this, and I think both of you would agree on it, is entrepreneurism is almost like professional person development. You're going to go on a whole other journey. I still got to make money, so I got to still do that, whatever the modern day version of hunting is. I got to go out there and just like put on a brave face, and I eat what I kill, but I still want it to mean something. I still need to feel safe and come home. That's why I asked that question before. It's like, who are you coming home to? Like, what's your family like? What's the support systems like? It's this really interesting dynamic. I think perhaps that's what you're trying to bring to light. Is it's a very interesting dynamic of knowing what you need to feel safe enough to go take this leap of faith on really a passion project. If I'm going to live the rest of my life working and feeling like I have a purpose and happen to make some money on it, I got to figure some other things out as well. It's not, I got to make sure I have a support system. We don't do, it's always is like success is not in isolation. You need a support team and a support system to make sure that while you have this awesome initial idea, it can only flourish if there's enough to support that, whether it's financial or where it's like the love of a family just saying, come here, stay, and like we'll feed you and like house you for a little while. That's scary. And I mean, I personally had an experience like that. I had clients take me in and do that.
I didn't secure any startup funding or anything like that. I just kind of went with what I had and marketed myself. And I didn't want to get caught up in that loan thing right in the beginning and started owing all this money to people and this and that. The concepts I had were pretty good and it worked out well. So, and I'm still building every day. And I got to say that the pandemic helped me. And a lot of people cannot and could never say that.
Yeah. Because
of the nature of whatever business they have. But I was networking. I had started to network, and then all of a sudden the pandemic is here, and now we're networking like this. We're online, we're on the internet, we're talking. Doesn't matter where we are. We could be in Anchorage, Alaska, or London, or someplace, but it's all one community. So I found that I was able to network a lot quicker and easier rather than driving somewhere 50 miles to a meeting, which probably would be productive, but it's all that time getting there and prepping. And now we're just waking up and 5 minutes before your meeting, you're putting your tie on or whatever you're wearing and you're showing up, What was I trying to say there? I don't know. That worked out.
No, I don't know. I actually was going to say something to that too. And I forgot myself. It's just so amazing. There are a lot of ideas are spouting out here, but one other thing that Caleb had mentioned, I just want to bring it full circle. I suppose I was going to probably make a point at that, was the support system. If I didn't have the current support system that I had at that time, I would have not left the chamber. I would have not done the things that I did at this point in time. And more directly, it was my girlfriend, Brandon, who got me there. And I would say that if I didn't have that support and I didn't have that encouragement, that I would not have that. And I'm not just saying that just to say that. I'm actually saying that. I don't think I would have had that direction. And I really worry about that. That it's if I didn't have that support system, not that my family wasn't supportive. Oh my God, amazing support, but it's a different kind of support. It was logistically, how was I going to do that? And by the way, now that we are, in a relationship, you have to realize that I'm going to be going through maybe some hardships or going some ups and downs through this, because I'm going to try to figure out what my life looks like. So having someone like that to understand that, who's also an entrepreneur, is very helpful. Not that that needs to be, but it was very helpful because she understood where I was at. So very helpful.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. Support system. My wife supports it, and she supported it when I did it. When it happened, she's like, go gung ho, do it, make it happen. And it wasn't too long before I had clients, and I was editing videos here in the home office and commuting to the kitchen to get coffee. And that's my commute. So.
Well, can you imagine, Chris, if she had said, Chris, that sounds like a great idea. I'm a little hesitant on that, and let's see where you go. That's a different step from saying, you know what, I believe in you, Chris. Everything you're doing is awesome. Keep it going. You're gonna kill it. Mm-hmm. Your framework, your mindset. If you don't put that idea into your head, it's not going to happen. If I didn't put that idea into my head, it wasn't going to happen. Everyone has that same kind of a thing. If they're not putting that idea out there and not having it being supported after you put it out there, that's the world right there.
Yeah. Fortunately, I had the right kind of support. It wasn't like, where's the next meal coming from? It's like, we're going to make this work together. I mean, she still goes out and works every day. She has a very nice, secure position somewhere, and and it works out. And this thing, and what I'm doing is growing and growing and growing, and getting some really decent and some good clients, and I'm loving it. I wouldn't go back to the previous lifestyle. I don't think either one of you would either. So.
No, and it also gives us the ability to, believe it or not, very easily jumping out of collaborations and make these great little business type deals with people. And you can obviously make it a partnership or not, but having collaborations are quite amazing as well. You get a taste of someone and see if you want to work with them or not. And you do, you keep on going. If not, you back up.
There you are.
Beautiful world.
We do have some viewers here.
We do.
Yeah.
What's up, friends? How we doing?
They have some questions.
Any questions for Caleb or Tim or me or somebody who's not even here, and I'll relay the message.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Tell me more. Well, yeah.
While we're waiting for questions, like I'll double down on that statement about support systems. Like when I had my first business separation, I went dead broke. And this speaks a lot about like relational capital. People do not, in this day and age where it's the swipe right, swipe left kind of immediate gratification situation, all the relationships that I had spent time nurturing and developing and going the extra mile, taking care of some people's kids and taking care of like just having conversations beyond just what they paid for, whatever it was. And at the time it was, here, let me teach you how to exercise and just learn how to squat and make sure you eat properly, whatever that means. It was, let's talk about your family. Let's talk about your life, your aspirations. Let me spend an extra hour or two after class and talk with you. When that went down, I had a couple of clients, they took me in and they housed me and they fed me for a year while I went broke. And not only that, like I met my wife during that time and others. If had it not been for these other great people in my life, there's not a chance I would have gotten through that. And then pivoting again during the pandemic, sat down with my friends, sat down with my wife. Hey, this is the direction I'm going. You cool with it? Having that sense of security, like this is the place I go to feel safe, rest my head, fill my belly, and then go back out into the world. Like you need to recover, you need to rest. And that's where that safety comes from. But then also holding you accountable. Hey, did you get up and do the thing? Like Tim was saying before, asking the questions, clarifying. So what is your vision of this thing? Where are you going with the thing? It's almost like two sides of coaching. Safe space, challenge you to realize your full potential. Sometimes it's just checking in and asking a question. Those two things, obviously, like I mentioned, like business centers around relationships, but everything is relationships. Chris, you brought it up earlier. It's about the relationship. And if we're not investing more into it, don't be surprised when something like a catastrophe blindsides you. You're like, I don't have the support systems, and you freak out. Doing the little extra things earlier and more often in your life to help people buys you the relational capital to be able, when you don't feel like, and when you're bored and you're like, I have this extra like desire to do more. Well, you need to build that capital, whether it's financial or relational, to be able to pivot in a way that allows you to do it successfully and start off on the right foot.
Right.
It's this unsung hero. And I hope we'll pay a little more attention to that in terms of preparing themselves for their futures, because I can only speak to the power that has been in my life. And both you guys have both shared that. At the end of the day, it's those deep, meaningful relationships that get us through the dark times.
Oh, sure. I would 100% agree with that. I'm going to hit you guys with a couple of questions. I'm going to wrap up here in a second. A couple of questions that aren't related to the deepness that we just all experienced. And by the way, I thank you for getting down into the depths.
That's that guy. It's always deep.
Yeah. Does that work? Is it the
I don't know
same
where
way?
he's at. Wherever he's
Tim,
at.
you see me on the top left. How does that work?
Yeah, top left.
Yeah.
Brady Bunch thing going on here.
One of those.
Yeah. Oh, we need a few more for that, but it's getting there for sure. I'll start with Caleb. Caleb, what is your, and I think I asked this of Tim once before because I had him on my other podcast, but Caleb, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time is The Matrix.
You know, I gathered that from this morning's meeting when you were talking about it.
With the new one coming out, I'm hyped.
The first one was better than the other two, don't you think? I mean, as far as, what do you think?
So yes and no. So about 2 times a year, I will watch all the Matrix movies all the way through. And the first times I watched the second and third one, I think my expectations of what it had to be, because I had no expectations the first time I saw it. I saw it like randomly and it blew my mind. The second ones, I was expecting to have my mind blown on the same level. But now that I watch it more, I've been able to start to peel out the other parts of the storyline that as I've gone through other places in my life, perhaps I like to resonate, and maybe I'm projecting some of my own things onto it, but I found more depth, more meaning, a little more richness in it.
Okay.
it's like, the first one is still the first one. It's still groundbreaking in its own right. So
I think
yes, I do love the first one.
My favorite scene in that was when Robert Taylor, who went on to become Longmire on Netflix, remember him? And Trinity, help! And he's doing that thing on the rooftop, that whole thing, and that became like a iconic scene. But the actor, I said, when I was watching Longmire a long time later on Netflix, I'm like, who is that guy? I've seen him before. So yeah, The Matrix, great movie. Tim, your favorite movie?
Well, I'm sorry I'm going to be repetitive, Chris. If anyone listened to our last little question there, it was Dumb and Dumber, hands down. Such a relatable film. I mean, holy cow. And I can say all those lines over and over and script them. And if you're going to ask me my favorite bit in the line, I'm going to tell you, got little Nippy going over the pass, huh, Hair? When they were frozen together after Harry had peed on his back. I thought that was a brilliant scene. There's so many scenes that are amazing. They hit me in different ways. But, of course, laughter would have to be something that I hold close to me and helps me through my days. So a funny film. I know there's Godfathers. I know there's amazing films out there. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Dumb and Dumber. That's me. It speaks to me.
Okay. And I'll stick with you, and I'll go back to Caleb. If you had a time machine like this, the TARDIS or a DeLorean from Back to the Future, and you could go back and talk to one person who influenced you or you admired heavily, one person back in the past, and who would you want to go back and talk to or have coffee with or something like that?
I think I knew you were going to ask that somehow again. And I'm going to answer probably differently again. And I'm being put on the spot, and I don't know. I was going to say switch to Caleb, but maybe I'm just on the hot seat here.
Do you want me to come back to you? I could
switch to Caleb for a half second. I'm going to take.
All right, Caleb. Same question to you. Who would you go back and visit if you had a time machine to do that?
Easy one. I would go back and visit Martin Luther King. I'm fascinated by how he led a movement of love and meeting evil and anger with love, when that was not the popular way of doing it. And I still see it to this day, where so many people just wanted, hate begats hate. I thought that was fascinating and profound. And I thought he was just the most profound orators. The way he presents a speech and all that, he's been one of my favorite speakers ever. But just the idea behind the movement in and of itself.
There you go. If I was going to pick somebody, and I'll give Tim a chance to.
Yeah, I'm still running blank here, so please help a brother out. Keep on talking.
And I think I'm. There's a lot of famous figures that I would like to see, but I think I'm going to pick a relative, and it's going to be either one of my grandfathers, my paternal or my maternal grandfathers. Because I didn't know my father's father all that well, although he influenced a lot of what he was, from what I understand from other relatives, was where my father got his influences and then his artistic ability, which is now transferred into my daughter. But I'd like to go back and talk to him and my maternal grandfather, who I did have a relationship with, and he died in the 90s. But I'd like to go back and hit him again back in the 20s and 30s when he was young. And, and just get to know them a lot. They have more family dynamics, and you understand a lot more, those kinds of things for that. And for a movie, Star Trek, and not those newer ones with Chris Pine. I think First Contact, which was just an action movie with a lot of shoot 'em ups, but a lot of personality, and the other one might have been The Wrath of Khan, which is probably the greatest Star Trek movie.
Yes,
Bakara Maltaban, and that scene, the whole thing, from hell's heart, I stab at thee. Now I can never get a voice like that, because if I had that voice, I'd be making a lot of money with it for sure. But anyway, that's me.
Well,
we're back to Tim now.
I did think of someone. It's funny. I didn't want to get emotional. I was going to say something about, my dad, because I wanted to know something about him yesterday. He was so rich in history and hearing what he used to have to say. I don't have that anymore. He had passed, and so I would love to have that. I know that if we're looking for another answer about an actual person, I'm going to say someone who actually just passed recently, and he was a huge inspiration for me in my life. And I didn't realize how big of an inspiration he was because I'm not usually that fantastically stuck to celebrities or have that fascination where I see a celebrity and gaga over them and I have to meet. But Norm Macdonald just passed. And I will tell you something that I got a teary eye listening to some of his stuff the other day. And I realized because how close it is to me, he was an inspiration to me and how he delivers and how he did his thing and how he connected with people. I think he did it in a real way. Yeah. And he didn't have to shock you with a lot of bad language or anything like that, even though he did use bad language. He spoke to people in a very simple language. And I think for that reason, I would love to have a conversation with him and laugh my ass off with him and just have a great time with him.
Did you ever see the show, The Orville?
The Orville?
Because Norm Macdonald had a part in that. It was a science fiction show.
Holy cow. No.
I would look it up.
My goodness.
Who's got it now? Hulu.
Yeah.
Hulu. He wasn't on camera as himself. He was the voice of an alien green blob type of thing, but he was an engineer. And it was Norm Macdonald's voice in that Norm Macdonald style. Trying to pick up women and all that, you know.
He does the voice of this pigeon on the Mike Tyson mystery show.
Oh God!
And it's actually quite hilarious and offensive and everything else. But from what I know of him and from what most of them they know, he talks like this and kind of annoying. But if you've heard some of his comedy and heard some of his actual stand-up and shows, that's the more endearing part to him. Some of his movies and some of his things could have been typecast and could have had the same kind of roles. But brilliant guy.
There we go. Hey, it's been fun today, guys. The time flew by. We're about 45 minutes in, and that's pretty cool. So I like it. I'm glad I was on the North. Tim, while we're here and while we got the both of you, tell us about this networking group called North Country Connect. Might as well do it. We'll do a plug for it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. An amazing group that Tracy Wardwell started. If anyone doesn't know Tracy Wardwell, she works for Capital Bank, and she's just a sweetheart and an amazing person, an amazing connector, an amazing friend. And she started this group with the intention of getting people together. And since then, she's, of course, been busy like us all. We've been spread thin with family and God knows what else. You have issues that come up in your lifetime. So Caleb and I were decided to, reach out to her and kind of say that we'd love to support you. And actually, Caleb was supporting her before that. And so I was able to help as well. And then before you knew it, Caleb and I were talking and doing our thing. Hey, that's what we're doing, networking and communicating and seeing what this looks like. So this group has been going on now for quite some time, and it's getting some great steam. We've had some really lovely people, and the connections are just freaking real. No better way to say it. And I mean, we're getting some, I hate to say it, but emotion, and I hate to say it. I love to say it.
Well, this morning had some emotion for sure.
Can't believe it. So we'd like to continue with that theme. There's going to be another meeting on the 21st. If you'd like to figure it out, put it in chat in the comments or get a hold of Caleb, get a hold of myself, get a hold of Chris. One of us will direct you to that next meeting on Tuesday, 8 a.m. on the 21st.
8 a.m. Eastern. Say Eastern.
Eastern. Thank you. Eastern.
Yes.
And there's going to be some exciting update news on that day as well from Caleb and myself. So please tune in.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think that's it. Yeah. Guys, it's been a heck of a lot of fun. We should do this again sometime.
Absolutely, Chris.
In fact, we should have the entire, what might be good, Tim, and I'm going to propose this to both of you actually right now, is that we do, if you want to recruit people to your North Country Connect meeting, that we do something like this live. I mean, but not more than just 3 of us, more like 8 of us or 10 or something like that. Whoever would want to show up, whoever dares to go live and talk, I guess, because it's different when you're in a closed thing, and you promote it and all that. But I don't know. So I'm just throwing this out. It's the idea of a live recruitment thing for the group, for the North Country Connect. So just throwing it out there.
Like I said, if you don't throw an idea out there, it can never happen, Chris. So that's why we throw ideas out there. So
I'd be willing to host that, a live recruiting event. and because then you guys could share it all over the place. And because right now we're on 2 YouTubes, 2 Facebooks, 2 Twitters, and Twitch even, and LinkedIn too. And so we're everywhere.
Um,
But anyway,
and Chris, by the way, speaking of, it's the support that I'm talking about. Without that, Caleb and I, having the support from you, and you've offered advice and done awesome things. So I really appreciate you having that in our lives. So thank you.
it's my pleasure. My pleasure for sure.
Feeling the love, brother. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time today.
It's my pleasure. And I'm going to say to both of you, and I mean this with sincerity, live long and prosper, and may good fortune be with you always. I just made that last part up, but
Yeah, she must work out, hair. That's going to be my line.
Much love, my friend. Thank you so
All right.
much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye.